the final whistle.
In 1996, just 2 years into our new democracy, South Africa hosted and won the Africa Cup of Nations for the first time.
Of pure hysteria.
World football back in 1992 with a friendly against Cameroon. The rookies of international football won a morale-boosting 1-0 victory, but it proved a false dawn.
In July of 92, when we played in Durban, and it was a friendly against Cameroon. Okay, it was no big deal in a way, but Cameroon had just got into the quarterfinals of they'd just done well in the World Cup, and even though it wasn't maybe the strongest side, they got a bit of a fright because the South Africans were pumped up, and we got a penalty, and it must have been a pressure penalty. It's the first game of international football, first game ever, a capacity crowd at Kings Park in Durban then. The doctor scored. The great, I'll always remember that. I mean, everybody went mad. The whole stadium went mad. It was a fantastic start to our international career.
I think it was a great game. South Africa e ka dira sentle thata jaaka ina ya dira mo motshamekong o gopole re ne re sa tswa go boela mo FIFA mo CAF ka 1992.
Sashaywa savitizwa ngenkathi sibuya lapha sishawa iZimbabwe ngo 4-1 sishawa ilokuzana iNigeria ngo 4-1.
Width of the pitch and the shot will come in and it's a beauty. They'll have to hold up. What a marvellous run now. Oh, what a magnificent goal.
Rashid Yekini. There goes the ball.
Our re-entry into world football was a baptism of fire, if you like. We started with 4-0 defeats to teams like Zimbabwe, Nigeria. So we were really the whipping boys, if you like, of African football at that particular time. And that was 92, leading up through 93, 4 and 5. And you know, it was really a tough time for us in world football. We were new boys. And I think, you know, with the emergence, obviously, of Clive Barker taking over the team, and for me, he's always played a massive role in his leadership as a coach of the national team. And I think he molded a squad of players who really worked for each other at that particular time.
Into engiyiphawulayo mina ukuthi uma ngabe sifuna ukulakhiwa kanjani iqembu leBafana ngibala abantu abanjengabo oThovi, oDr Khumalo uma kungabadlali ngibala uClive Barker okungiyena waye umqeqeshi wodumo ikakhulukazi ngenkathi kweAfcon ngenkathi lesikhathi lesisibuya ke la uClive Barker wadlala ingxenye enkulu kakhulu namanje sayidlala ngophela usaqeqesha lapha noMazulu kodwa wadlala ingxenye enkulu ngaleso sikhathi leso ngoba uyena oyekwazi ukuthi abafana abamotivate ukuthi bakwazi ukubadlala abahlanganise ngisho nabalandeli imbali nase esendiza njengendiza egijima ethi bonke abalandeli kwachwaza inkundla ngaleyo ndlela ngaleso sikhathi leso kuyiwe umuntu okwaziyo ukuthi asebenze nabadlali abafundisi abakwaziyo ukuvela abavela nabo emathimini abo akuhlanganise la.
Back in June last year.
The doom and gloom surrounding the national team began to be lifted when Clive Barker was made coach of Bafana. Barker was legendary for his motivational skills and results began to improve.
Inside to Khumalo.
Their newfound confidence would be tested like never before when it was announced that Kenya would be unable to host the Nations Cup of 1996.
There were problems with Kenya hosting the tournament, and at the last minute CAF needed a replacement, and it was sprung on South Africa. And perhaps naively, but I don't think there was much thought about whether we could stage it or not. It was taken for granted that we would have no problem in staging it. On the other hand, I don't think many people expected South Africa to win the tournament. Getting to the quarterfinals, the semi-finals would have been quite satisfactory. And so it exceeded all expectations when South Africa won the tournament.
Njengoba ngasho ukuthi umuntu waba nekhono eliphezulu kakhulu ehlanganiseni iqembu uyena uClive Barker kodwa ebambisene kakhulu nobaba uNelson Mandela okungiyena wayethi nongabe kukuphi lapha abafanele behlangene khona afike athi hey ngifuna nibuye nayo le ndebe uthi ke wayenayo lento othiwa iMadiba magic le esiyaziyo sonke la eNingizimu Afrika umuntu nje owaba insika yokuthi sonke sibambelele kuyo singama commentators singabadlali singabalandeli bebhola iNingizimu Afrika yonke yayime ngenxa ukuthi uBaba Mandela wayekhona futhi washo ukuthi sizoyinqoba leya ndebe yeAfcon nangempela kwenzeka kanjalo.
The tournament would provide Bafana Bafana the opportunity to showcase their transformation from the whipping boys of African football to its kings. Spurred on by the vociferous home support, Bafana Bafana surprised one and all in a breathless run to the final. And with 2 goals set up by Dr. Khumalo and scored by Mark Williams, sealed their triumph with a 2-0 win against Tunisia. The nation rejoiced and celebrated a true Cinderella story. It was surely one of the greatest days in the history of South African football. The 20th edition of the Africa Cup of Nations began on the 13th of January 1996. The squad, motivated by inspirational coach Clive Barker, included greats of South African football like Mark Fish, Chippa Masinga, Eric Tinkler and Shoes Mushwewu, along with captain Neil Tovey and Dr. Khumalo. The celebrations that ensued became part of history as a young democracy celebrated not only new sporting heroes but acceptance by the African fraternity of nations. Who will ever forget the sight of Neil Tovey holding the trophy high alongside a cheering Nelson Mandela? But with the benefit of hindsight, how good was the squad of 1996 and what was the legacy they left behind?
I think the team that won the Nations Cup was probably the best South African team ever up to this stage. Simply because it had the right blend and the right amount of talent. As things have turned out, not enough has been built on that 1996 success. And you have to start all over again. You can't live on the past. You can't remember. That should have been a stepping stone, not the final goal.
Winning that particular Nations Cup, I think certainly meant a new start for South Africa as a country, I beg your pardon, and of course for South Africa as a footballing nation. Our re-entry into world football, as I said, certainly wasn't the greatest of starts. We needed something. We needed a feel-good kind of thing. And I think just from a political point of view, as well as a footballing one, everything just came together. And to a certain extent, I think it is sad that these former players are not utilised to the best of their ability and the experience that they bring to football from a coaching point of view and administrative point of view. I think that certainly will go a long way to getting more of these players who deserve to play a role at the highest level in the various structures. I think these are the guys who have the experience, and I think these are the guys who certainly are still heroes to the young players who are playing now. And I think to work with these players certainly will rub off on them.
I think we should use the 1996 team as an inspiration for the World Cup. We should use them. Those guys want to be involved. I've spoken to a lot of them, and they want to be there. They want to be part of it. They don't want to be the coach or the manager, but they want to be part of it. They want to be there to help the players and guide them. Why can't they allow them to take a training session now and again? Give them a team talk. Hey, this was happened in '96. This happened in the World Cup. This is what you're going to expect. Look, but what do? We just let them rot. It's a sad state of affairs.
Ake ngithi ke nje uma ngikhuluma ngo1996 ukuthi ilegacy esele laphana kuyena umntaka Tovey yipi sibone iqhutshwa uLucas Hadebe obe umholi waze wahamba odlala ngapha kwezilwandle kwiLeeds washo kwaba umholi nalapha ukapteni wasimela sonke siyiningizimu Afrika. Kanti ngapha kweza njengoba sikhuluma ngendaba kaDr Khumalo nje sinabadlali abaningi abanjengo Steve Pienaar abadlala lephesha nabadlali abaningi abanjengo siyabonga Nkosi abadlala phesheya kwezilwandle eGermany bayazama ukuthi izinga balikhuphule njengalokhu Dr Khumalo ayekade enza lapha nesiswini.
Ngicabanga ukuthi soxoxela izingane zethu nezingane zethu zobe xoxelwe izingane zethu ukuthi kwaye kwaba khona uDr Khumalo nethu eqenjini leBafana Bafana.
Once the procession entered the Johannesburg centre, the city erupted. traffic and all other activities came to a complete standstill for a few hours, allowing fans to pay tribute to their heroes. It seemed that the final was only yesterday and that the celebrations had never stopped.
We never thought we can get such a response, but we always knew that we will do well in the Africa Cup Nations.
It's been great. I haven't had a chance to relax. I mean, everyone's recognizing, everyone's appreciating what Bafana have done for South African football and done for the nation. It's superb to see everyone get behind, football.
We are what we are today because of Bafana. We are recognized nationwide, internationally, and I feel very proud of it.
Hulle het baie goed gedoen en ons is baie bly.
Doc is the man!
This is incredible, honestly, and really emotional. I never knew the people would respond like this, and it's frightening to think that we can never let them down again. See, the pressure, if you thought it was bad before the tournament, I'm sure every player's going to remember this. They've got to want this every time they play.
They waited patiently to see their idols, and they were rewarded. The day was one that Johannesburg and Soweto will certainly never forget, contributing more great moments to the short but already illustrious history of